Good morning, everybody. MiniPaintingDM here, a little bit behind schedule today, but we're going to be doing a bunch more painting of our Ghost of Saltmarsh minis here. Last time we got the majority of these guys painted up. I still need to do some washing and dry brushing. We did the first initial step on our transparent model. I'm going to try to get through as many of these today as possible. I'm going to be streaming for probably, yesterday was a bit of a shorter stream. Today I'm going to be streaming for about 4 to 6 hours. So we'll see how that goes. I got a nice cup of joe ready to go right here. And my breakfast. Some news about the channel. I have just finally gotten through some of the initial setup on YouTube. So I am now publishing all of my videos after they go live. I'm posting them to YouTube. I'm going to experiment with live streaming simultaneously on a future day to both Twitch and YouTube. It's a bit bandwidth intensive because I'm not going through a third-party service. I'm going to try using OBS to publish to both simultaneously. That's a bit bandwidth heavy. We'll see if my internet connection can handle that. I think it can according to the speed test I did, but we'll see. If that does end up causing a drop in performance, I will switch back to just publishing to Twitch initially, and then after that, posting the videos to YouTube. The whole point of YouTube is really just to, allow for some of the content to be accessible in another platform after the fact anyways. I really want to be engaging with the Twitch community. As far as the chat, it's because I'm using Stream Elements, it's where I get all the cool bells and whistles. With the chat bot and everything else is all integrated through Twitch. So again, probably just gonna stick with Twitch, but I'll experiment. We'll try out YouTube as a simultaneous situation. But yeah, let's get into it. Rocking my Castlevania shirt today. Yeah. First step today, I think we're just gonna throw our Agrax wash on these bases, so that way we can then dry brush them a little bit later once the Agrax wash dries. Should be a pretty quick step. If I was smart, I would have finished my breakfast before I started streaming. But I was dumb and started messing around with my streaming setup and also getting more videos published to YouTube. I would have tried streaming to YouTube today, but apparently there is a 24-hour wait period after you request that feature for them to review your account and then give you authorization for streaming. So I should have it by tomorrow. But hey, at least I got the quote-unquote advanced features unlocked on YouTube, which includes the uploading of videos longer than 15 minutes. So that way I could upload my videos there. You're probably wondering why I'm not using a paint handle. I probably should, but since we're just doing one quick step here on the base, I feel pretty confident just holding the mini at its base to do the work. It's another beautiful fall day here in Oregon. Fall has really kicked in here. It's been raining for the last several days. I love it. Fall's my favorite season. Whenever it's raining, I always get in the mood to paint. Oh, this is our poor, sad centipede that lost his antennae. I looked around on my table and I didn't find it. It probably like shot off and it's probably in the carpet somewhere. You know, there's a lot of people who stream miniatures that wear gloves, and I'm starting to wonder whether it might be a good idea to wear black gloves. If anything, just for the cinematography aspect of it. You'll be able to see the colors on a miniature more clearly if there wasn't as much light reflecting off of my hands. And it would just provide in general a much better backdrop for the painting. If I was wearing like black gloves. I'll think about it. Not sure if I want to be wearing gloves for 4 hours. I would get paint in my hands less. That's a bonus. So again, this looks really muddy right now, but that's kind of the intention. We're gonna go back over it later once it's dry. We're gonna do a dry brush. And the whole thing is gonna look much better in general. And then when we do the final rim, the rim job, it will look even better. Alright, let's get the base down on her. We will be finishing her up today. For sure. And last but not least, oh, not quite last. I still have not gotten the information from this player on how they want this dwarf painted. So it's gonna have to wait for another day. I'll have to bug them on Discord again. Kind of an early riser. They work late in the evening, so they still might get back to me today before going into work. So who knows? I might get instructions midstream. But I doubt it. So we'll just put Darylin over here. Well, no, we'll keep him up here. As a reminder, we're going to completely finish this base before we move on to and we're going to paint the skin on the Gem Dragonborn. Completely get all of those steps done, skin and completing this base. Then we're going to glue him to the base. Then we're going to paint the rest of the model. So in that order. All right. I should probably eat my breakfast before it gets too much colder.
Okay, let's go.
Is that from the song? Okay, let's go. Huh. All right. I'm like, was that an alert? What's going on? All right. Probably the next thing we want to work on is his skin. We have a couple of choices here. I think I might text the player who's playing this Dragonborn just to clarify what color they want. Snap a photo. Where is he? There he is. We might not be able to work on him yet. Depending on how fast the player gets back to me. So, what to work on? Let's take her off the base. I guess we can work on the grubs. These should be pretty darn easy to paint. Definitely go with black eyes with a gloss varnish. but we need to figure out what other color we want. The base I'm going to do is gray. Interesting. One of the things with Darkest Dungeon is a lot of people in the community have been painting the bases white, gray, and black. There's a game mechanic reason for that within the Darkest Dungeon board game. So I will be deviating from my usual how I paint bases on these guys. Usually I always rim the base black. But since they are Darkest Dungeon minis, and I want to use them for the board game, I will be using that little trick. I will be right back. I don't have a cleaning cloth here for my brushes. And yeah, I'll be right back. All right. So one thing to note, yesterday I thought I was streaming in the painting channel, but today is the first time I'm actually streaming in the painting channel, or excuse me, the art channel here on Twitch. So I'm curious to see how it turns out in terms of outreach to new viewers. Might work good, might not, might just go back to the D&D channel. There's a lot more people who watch the art channel than the D&D channel. I have noticed that there are painters in that channel as well. A lot of it is people drawing on Cintiq pads, that kind of thing, Wacom's. So who knows? While there are more viewers, there are also more channels. But the analytics of Twitch tell me that while that is true, there's also a much higher viewer to channel ratio. So, again, we will see. We will see. Always worthy of experimentation. Alright, we're going to grab some Black Templar here for our buggy eyes. I think we're going to do Plague Bear Flesh combined with Nurgle's Rot. Well, these rot grubs. Yeah, that's smart. as always, make sure to mix your paints very well. I have a cheap little vortex mixer here that I use. Found it on eBay, or not eBay, Amazon. You really want to mix to the point where you don't see any like white deposits at the bottom. And you'll notice that as you mix it, the overall color of the pot will change. Because, you know, and I'll give you an extreme example. You know, like this pot here. You got all this white at the bottom and this blue. When we actually mix it, the overall tone of the pot will change. You'll see as you're mixing it, look, it's starting to mix in. There's still some there. Keep mixing. Look at that. Boom. Vortex mixer. Does the job. Does the job. Alright, so this is, I think, all we need to paint them. We're gonna grab different color, basilicum gray, to do the bases. And get this on now. Because these are giant flat tiles, I'm making sure to sweep across them in a smooth motion so I don't get a lot of pooling. Also making sure that I get this outer rim painted as well. Not the actual rim itself, but there's like a little tiny indent on the edge. I want to make sure that this little detail indent is getting properly painted. Okay. Easy peasy, basey squeezy. It's really important to have good ergonomic posture while painting, especially if you've been painting for several hours at a time. Primary thing to remember is shoulders should be, or elbows should be on the table, and you should not be like haunching your shoulders. Like, this is bad. So ideally your shoulders should be like back, you know, like you're doing like a bench press kind of thing. You know, if possible, you want to have it situated so that the model is at eye level, so you're also not getting neck strain doing this. You know, you'll always sort of get into bad posture at times, but the more you can set yourself up for success, the less you will wreck yourself while painting. I will say that's the nice thing about streaming, is it's making me really focus on that, because I also have to worry about like keeping the mini in the shot for you guys to enjoy. And so the more I focus on that, and I've got my camera up in a nice position so that way if in shot when I'm in my ergonomic position. It's a win-win. I'm more consistent with my shot, and it's better for my body. Alright, done with that paint. Put that away. Alright, we're just going to do Nurgle or Plague Bearer Flesh all over, and then I'm going to go back after the fact with a small brush and do the eyes, and then put the Nurgle's rot. Oh man, this is such a good color. Anyways, gonna put the Nurgle's rot on like these little pustule-y looking things. I think it's the first time I've used this color on something sufficiently like. I think I've used it for other things, but not for something that's supposed to look like, you know, Plague Bearer Flesh, as the name is implied, right? Like nothing that's supposed to be rotten or rotty. And it definitely sells that look. If I was doing a Nurgle army, you know, I did play some Blight Kings, so maybe I used it on the Blight Kings. I can't remember. I might have. I feel like I've used it for something. Now, I'm probably making a huge mistake here when it comes to Darkest Dungeon, because I can't remember how these things were painted per the Darkest Dungeon art style. I'm also not really following the Darkest Dungeon art style when it comes to painting them. It's a very specific art style, and if I wanted to paint them that way, it would take me way longer than I'm really willing to commit for such a huge box of minis. So I'm just going to paint it the same way I would paint any other D&D mini. And I'm painting them kind of as I go and as I need them for D&D. If an encounter calls for a monster that is close to a Darkest Dungeon monster, then I will paint the appropriate Darkest Dungeon monster. I'm going to try my best with the hero characters to paint them as close as possible to their official artwork styles. Or not the styles, but at least the colors. I mean, I'm still going to use sort of my contrast style that I'm doing here. I'm just not gonna fret about, or I'm gonna worry about getting the right colors, but not necessarily the Darkest Dungeon art style. Just now I want to look up how are these guys portrayed on the Darkest Dungeon wiki. I'm gonna do a quick lookup. I mean, I've already committed to this color, but you know, if there's other little details that maybe darkest dungeon grub maggot. Yeah, they do it as more of a tan color, and it's one color all over. Like, whatever. I'm sticking with my green. Love it. Love this. Love this better. This better. We don't have to be beholden to other people's rules. I am going to make a second pass on the feet. I'm going to use Dark Oath Flesh, which will sort of just darken it up and bring it closer to like a brown. As a second pass. Remember, there's a transparency to contrast paint, so if we put paints on top of paints, it's sort of additive in terms of what the final color is going to look like. That's why I'm not going to go with something like a Cygor brown or something like that, because then it would just almost turn black. Because it's already a dark color to begin with, so I'm going to go with something that can be dark when put over a midtone like this. Going back, doing some quick spot checking. Make sure I didn't miss anything. This guy's leg. Cool. And as usual, we're painting faster than stuff dries. All right. We can go in with our Black Templar, small brush. Clearly I didn't have enough paint on my brush. There we go. I think these guys look way more interesting now than kind of how they're portrayed in the original artwork. This brush is too big. I need to go a slightly smaller brush. Getting a little bit of little tiny bits of paint where I don't want. Of course, that's partially because it's not fully dry. And I really should wait for it to dry, but I'm being impatient. Oh. Ooh. Had a big runoff there. There we go. Much better. Hey, I think that's one of my players getting back to me with color choice options. Let's check. Okay, yep. All right, our player got back to us, and we're gonna use this green here for painting our Dragonborn skin. So let's do that now. And it doesn't matter if I get some of this on the armor or anything else, because I want to make sure there isn't a whole lot of pooling. Our objective here is to tent. So we have pooling, it'll create an area of complete opacity, and we do not want that. There we go. Hand. Okay. This other hand. We want to make sure we're not pooling too much. Still want light to be going through the model. Now, I think technically part of his foot here has like some stuff around it. But I did notice at the back here, this is clearly skin. So I think some of this will get painted over with the primer. But we'll have to see. Everything's said and done. Yeah, because I think that's like a foot bracer right there. But he's back, he's got like a back heel situation here that is skin. So maybe on this one I'll try to just hit those areas. Hey Diggs, how's it going? Welcome to the channel. Working on an Emerald Dragonborn Paladin here. Part of him is going to be transparent on any of his skin areas. And then I'm going to be hand priming the rest of him and getting that painted up. You know, the cloth, the armor, etc. Some of it's gonna be a real pain in the butt. That's for sure. But I've painted these sort of clear Dragonborns before, and it's always really exciting to see the final product. Now, his head is already drying, as you can see. It looks pretty dull. We're going to be going back over that again with a clear varnish, and it will bring back out the transparency. All right, I think that's all of his skin areas. I want to do the sword next. I'm gonna do a combination of a very fast live blend of a couple of different colors. Oh. Remember that flame is closer to the core of the heat. It's brighter, so you want to start off with the yellow and then blend up to darker colors. I think the highest we'll take this to is like a reddish orange. Yeah, we're going to do this very, very quickly. I'm actually going to open all 3 pots. So I'm just going to sort of like live blend this on the blade. Starting off with yellow. Just want to hit the center. And move to our yellow with orange. Hit it there. And then last but not least, hit it with this. Get some blending just naturally with paint flowing together. I am going to do 2 more very, very fine colors here at the end. A little bit of red. Right near the tips. And then last but not least, and this really helps sell the fire, you want a little bit of smoke. So just literally right at the tip. You want to add just a little tiny bit of black. Teeny tiny, like barely. That's gonna sell sort of the feeling of like smoke. All right. With that, I think our Dragonborn is... Let me take a quick progress photo for my player. Alright, we're going to put him aside. Let him dry. Proper. Very happy with how that turned out. Navy blue coat, bright silver armor is what he wants. Okay. All right, back to our grubs. I think our grubs are dry enough. We can go back over the little pustule bits with Nurgle's Rot. He's very happy with the progress on his mini. That makes me happy. I think putting in the extra effort on player character models is pretty important. You know, those are going to be miniatures that are going to be seeing the light of day for the entirety of the campaign. So take your time with those. If you're going to take your time with painting miniatures, player character models. Or if there's like an antagonist that shows up multiple times, or maybe a supporting NPC, anything that's going to last on your table for more than just like half an hour to an hour in one session, you know? Now, I did some Reddit research on this campaign, and one of the things that absolutely obliterates players if they don't know what they're doing is these things called rot grub swarms. Apparently, I guess if you get them on you, they can burrow in your skin, and like they could even be hidden on a body and you don't even realize it. And if it gets on you and they burrow in your skin, they literally can kill you. You just become a ticking time bomb. The Baldur's Gate 3 scenario. But, you know, it's not completely obvious to the players that they have a ticking time bomb in them until they're dead. It's a big problem. And I think I'm just going to run a totally different monster in that scenario. I'm not going to include those rot grubs as designed in the adventure. Instead, I'm going to use these things. I'm going to call them like giant grubs or vile grubs, whatever. I'll homebrew something, or I'll look on D&D Beyond and see if there's a homebrew something that fits for these guys. You know, paying attention to like the CR rating, that kind of thing. I'll try to see if I can find a swarm as well, just to keep it feeling like it's a swarm model. If not, whatever. Point is, I don't like stuff that, you know, one bad dice roll means your character's dead. You don't even know your character's dying until boom, you wake up one day and you're dead. Pretty dumb. Yeah, maybe I could run like a variant of it that's like, if it does get under your skin, you lose maximum hit points, which sort of then encourages the players to figure out, well, how do I get my hit points back? Then I can have somebody roll like a medicine check and be like, oh, well, you know, they're under the skin, you need to get it out. And use fire, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to use fire to like burn them out at the site where they went in. Again, how is the player supposed to know that? pretty dumb. So I'll figure it out. I still don't know how I want to run it. It's one of the things I need to do some research on and make a decision prior to the players running into these guys. Since I did choose to use this model, maybe it makes sense to just, again, do it as a totally different monster. Because, again, these are supposed to be little tiny grubs that could hide on a corpse, and when you touch it, they get on your skin. And I've turned them into big carrion feeding monsters. So I'll just probably just run them as something totally different. Because I wanted to use these models. Alright. We're going to grab some Ard Coat, which is our Citadel Gloss Medium. Put some of these paints back. By the way, the paints that I used there, just for reference, it was Imperial Fist, transitioning to Nasdaq Yellow, transitioning to Gryph-hound Orange. Now you could probably take the yellow out of it and just go from yellow to orange to Gryph-hound Orange, and then I went to Blood Angels Red, followed by Black Templar. So that was the transition of colors that I used to do this cool flame effect. And I do that on any kind of model that's got like a flaming weapon, or you know, I got these like fire spirits from Warhammer box game, all kinds of good stuff you can use it for. And it's, again, it is the whole point of some of these painting techniques I'm showing is like, how do you get a cool effect that's going to wow your players without investing a crap ton of time? And we did that sword in literally seconds. That's not the size brush I want. There we go. Always make sure your brushes are nice and clean before dipping into something like an Ard Coat or Lamian Medium. Any kind of clear thing. You don't want to taint your pots. You'll see going back over this with the gloss varnish, it's going to really make the transparency pop again. I can tell just putting it on and I'm already starting to see transparency better. It's pretty amazing. When I did this the first time, this Gem Dragonborn look, I was amazed with myself. I'm like, wow, I did that. And this Dragonborn Barbarian that I did is one of my favorite paint jobs I've ever done. Of course, that was quickly passed up by other cool models that I painted recently. I'm pretty proud of Elaxian, the Callus. I posted that on the live stream. or I stream that on Twitch. But yeah, super proud of how he came out. His wings really popped and looked great. Now with any varnish, you don't want to put it on too thick. So if you notice pooling, or you see some white stuff, go back, clean that up. You can go back in with a little bit of water on your brush and sort of clean it up. Because this stuff is thick, and if it pools, it'll dry like a big hard spot. So we don't want that. And where you see thick white area, let's go back over that. Pick up some of the excess with your brush. All right. Last but not least, the sword. There still might be some drying bits on the sword, so I made sure to load up plenty of hard coat on the brush, so I wouldn't have to dip in multiple times. Well, I have to anyways. There we go. Alright, that should be good. Just picking up some of this excess. Alright, I'm gonna just put her aside. Oh, you know what? We missed the tail. Can't neglect the tail. Pretty important bit. Alright. Let her dry. Him dry. Got more messages coming from players here. Discord. Alright. Oh, while we had the art cut out, I meant to do the eyes of our maggoty boys here. Let's get that done. Find with anything that's buggy, give them glossy eyes. Really helps sell the bugginess of it. Yeah, these guys are effectively done. Just need to do the rim. But I think we are good to do some dry brushing now. Dry brush, dry brush. We're gonna dry brush all of these guys. We're also gonna dry brush the fur on these little suckers. Let's start off with what did I say? Alright, with dry brushing, make sure you get as much, dip it in your paint or your dry paint, and then you want to get as much off as possible. And then with these bases, we just want to sweep it across the base, picking out some of the high points. We don't want to get everywhere. And one thing I like doing is going around the edge like this and just hitting the edge around the rim. With a little extra. Go. It's gonna look better later when we put in the black rim. And boom, his base is done. Now we repeat the process for all these other little guys. Now, one advantage of finishing the base like this before you paint the model, as in the case with this dwarf, is I didn't have to worry about getting a little bit of that dry brush paint on the boots, because when I paint the boots later, it's not going to matter. It's going to end up with much cleaner looking boots at the end of the day. Now, whether or not the player will like that or not, that particular player really likes their models to be kind of grungy and dirty. But see, with our halfling here, if I don't want to mess up the boots, I need to be very careful. Now, if I get a little bit of this dry brush paint on the boots, that's okay. Just don't want to do it a lot. There we go. Again, that looks really messy right now, but when we do the rim, it's going to look a lot better. It's going to look very complete once we have the rim done. This guy, we're actually going to put this back on a base now, because we're going to glue our Dragonborn onto the base at this point. Now, is that going to make my life harder when it comes to priming the cape? Probably. But if I don't glue it onto something now, it's gonna make... Let's see, if I was smart, I would have done something like this. So I think well, yeah, okay, let's do that. So this is going to be a bit of a pain, but you know what, we'll make it work. Should have figured this out earlier. Using super glue thick here. Very important because it's not going on a perfectly flat surface, and we want that thick super glue to really fill in any gaps between this rock, quote unquote, and yeah, I like that. Oh, this guy's not going to go on yet. Now that we've decided to build up the base more, we need to do something with this before we glue him on. So we've just made our lives more complicated, but I think it's going to end up with a better model and a better base in the end. There we go. Now Loot Studios does have a base for this model. I just thought it looked just a little bit too pretentious, and wanted to go with a more organic looking base. I believe this is the version of KX, the Dragonborn, as part of the starter set, as part of the Vampires and Panshaw release. And he's like standing, it looks like on part of a cathedral of some kind. And again, it's incredibly pretentious. I think one advantage of doing him sort of half cocked on this rock, A, he raises his sword even more over his head. As opposed to it being like sideways, it's a little bit more upwards. But two, we end up having more of the create more of a rocky outcropping. It goes outward more. Yeah, that's good. Ooh, that's even better. Ooh, yeah, like that, like that. It's got a flat top to it as well. I like it. So once this is dry, I'm gonna go in with the texture paint. I'm actually going to put texture paint over it. I could also prime it and we could paint it to look more like a rock. I think that's what we'll do, actually. There's lots of ways that we could tackle this problem. We need it to be more like, we need the rock to go a little more like that. By the way, I'm using just basic, like you can buy these like big sheets of cork, and then you just tear off little bits of it, and then sometimes you use parts, sometimes you don't. I keep like little extra bits in a cup here. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Oh, yeah, that looks really nice. Using our thick super glue. Really nice here because it helps like fill in some of those gaps, and when it hardens, whew. Alright, that's good, I guess. Still not quite going out as far as I want, though, unfortunately. This guy's got such a wide stance, it's ridiculous. I might go in with Astro Granite, which is one of the texture paints, and just use that, because what it'll do is it'll get into all of these like little crevices, and like the sand will just help reinforce the cork. And I'll try to put it on real thin on this top area. Well, that'll certainly make painting his cape a lot easier. There you go, that's how it looks there. And put it more top down. There you go. Yeah. You know, I might need to change my camera angle to be more like facing this way. So that way you can see more of like the way I am looking. But we'll see. Still kind of messing with things here. don't think I can get this cam arm any. Let's try this for a little while. Screwing with my whole setup. Yeah, I think that's a better angle. Oh. Alright. Let's put some of this away before accidents happen. Alright. Fuck me. Messing with my stream setup while I'm streaming. Totally smart. All right. Do I like this setup better? Well, time will tell whether I like this setup better. The question is it better for you guys? I need to hold it right here. You can see more easily what I'm shooting at. Alright, well. More worthy experiments. Let's change our lighting here. Not so in my face. soften the light a little bit. Check 1, 2. Looking at you. All right. Well, I feel like it needs to be higher. If I want to have it like that in my face. Forward and up. Aha. Yeah, I think I like that viewing angle better. The question is this a better working angle? Yeah, that's good. That's real good. All right. I think I like this better. I think lighting is going to be better. I think camera shots are going to be better. All right, let's get back to fixing this base. We need some super glue in between these two spots. Again, we're just using super glue almost like a gap filler. It looks really nice. I like how this thing looks here. Yeah, much better. All right. I'm gonna hold this in place. Let it dry a little bit. There we go. Excellent. All right, we're gonna let that dry. Back to dry brushing. Dry brushing, dry brushing. We get a little bit of this on the talons here. Not a big deal. It'll just look like a highlight at the end of the day. Now the more paint is on the brush, if you notice, I'm more gentle with how I move it across. And as the dry brushing goes on, I start to lose paint on the brush, then I'm getting more aggressive with how I'm sort of like pushing paint onto the base. Once you notice you're doing that too much, then you want to load up a little bit more paint on your brush, because you shouldn't have to force it. If you're forcing it too much, then you'll pick up more than just the highlights with the dry brushing. You'll start to like get some of the recessed areas, which we don't want. It's part of the reason why when I'm dry brushing, I'm going like sideways on the model like this. Because again, we're just trying to get those raised areas. Don't forget the edge. Really want the edge nicely highlighted. It'll look great later when we put the black rim on it, if the edge is nicely highlighted. Got another message on Discord. People are just pinging me constantly. Apparently my brother doesn't know what it means that, hey, I'm streaming. Means, hey, don't bother me. We are going to dry brush these weasels. I'm going to put them on these bases, because after we're done dry brushing the bases, or the base, put them on paint holders, because after we're done doing the bases, we're going to dry brush their fur. I haven't decided what color I want to dry brush their fur yet. I don't want to do it this same color, because then it'll look a little weird, having the base highlighted with the same color that we're highlighting the fur with the dry brush. I think fur always looks better if you dry brush it. Reason being is, you know, there's a lot of inconsistencies in fur. You know, you got the down, you've got, it's just the dry brushing gives it that more look that's more believable for fur. So whether it's a boar or, you know, a giant weasel or a wolf, dry brushing really should be part of your steps. Go. Weasel's dry brushed. Let's move our maggots back here. They're done, they're just waiting Actually, everything that is done and just waiting, basing, the rim, we're gonna put back here. Ideally, I will rim multiple models at once, as many as possible, because, well, you'll see. It's a little bit of a messy process, and I use one particular brush for it, and so I like to do that all at once. Alright. Weasels. Weaselly weasels. What are we gonna do with you? I'm gonna try this dry paint. Really, this paint I like using for dry brushing. Wood. I think it might look okay with the weasels. A test on a small area. That is not noticeable. Never mind. Well, you know what? We're gonna use this. Screw it. This is usually what I dry brush fur with. When you're dry brushing this, you want to go with the fur. We're not doing it a whole lot. We want just a little bit of a dusting, just to give some different texture to our weasels. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just lightly wet my finger and I'm just rubbing it against it, just to sort of like smooth some of that out. And I'm pretty happy with it. I want to get the ears, some of the face details. Anywhere where there's a rough edge, you want to go against the rough edge. There we go. And we're not making a huge impact on the model, we're just giving it a little bit of extra dimension here. That's it. I think if these models had more detail, if I didn't have to blow them up 250%, the dry brushing would make a bigger impact. But, you know, it's what happens when you turn a weasel into a giant weasel with 3D printing. We did lose a lot of the fur detail when we blew it up. I mean, it's still there. But, you know, it was a low detail model to begin with. All right. I'm definitely liking this camera angle better. It feels like it's capturing some of the detail of models at a better angle. I still think I might need to tweak it a little bit here, so we're gonna fuck with it a little bit more. Do that. Up. Down. I fuck with it too much. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that works nice. Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's good. Alright. Well, there's way too much glare on my tablet. Ah, that's better. Okay. Put our Tyrant Skull dry brush away. Sylvaneth bark, put that away. How's this drying? Still not completely dry. All right. At this point, I really want to finish this base. Let's get this done. Got some astral granite. You might not think it's incredibly important to mix texture paint, but there is medium in this texture paint, and it will separate and fall to the bottom. And if you don't regularly mix it, you will end up having it just really be hard at the top. If you want it to be more like paint and come off your brush fluidly, definitely use your vortex mixer to mix up your texture paint whenever you use it. Oh, doing this way off camera, my bad. I'm using the side of the scraper here just to, after I put down some of the texture paint, I want the part where his foot's going to touch to be relatively smooth. I don't mind if the sand gets in here and fills some of the gaps of these edges and creates more texture and like an organic look. That's fine. That's why we're using texture paint. But for the top, I want that to be smooth. I also want to try to get as close to the base as possible where this rock touches the base, so that it doesn't look like it's sitting on top of the dirt, but rather it's in the dirt. It's okay if we've got a little bit of stuff, but you know, like down in here, really kind of getting in those cracks. There we go. Now again, I would not go to this level of effort for any old model, but this is a player character model. So, you know, we're going the extra mile in terms of the base. This is going to be a pretty slick model at the end of the day. A Crystal Dragonborn. So we don't want to skimp on things like the base. I might put some dry grass on the halfling's base, just because the halfling is like so tiny, and I don't know. I just want to like give it a little bit more something going on. All right. Now the beautiful thing about this is, again, all this texture paint, when it dries, it's just going to help reinforce this cork and give us a nice usable base. It's going to be nice and sturdy. You'll still have a little bit of give in it, but it won't be as flimsy and risk of breakage. Alright, I think I'm happy with that. Let's put that down, let that dry. Two hours of painting in, and we've only had one person join from the art channel. Oh, art channel, why do you deceive me with your promise of high quality viewers per stream? Sometimes analytics are just that, analytics. doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get the outcome you want. All right. At this point, I'm not gonna fuck with the Paladin. I think I'm just gonna do the bases on these guys and call it a day. I know that's gonna be wrapping up the stream earlier than expected, but you know what? I'm so damn fast getting through this stuff way faster than I expected. So, it is only Tuesday, and I want to paint the rest of these guys at least by Friday. Oh, really? That just leaves Wednesday and Thursday. But yeah, if I paint these guys, maybe these 4, and then these 3, the Lizardmen can wait. They're party's not getting into the Lizardmen anytime soon. So if I get all of this painted, including these guys, by the end of the week, that'll be more than enough content for the players to. We also have some spider swarms, some giant snakes that were previously painted. So yeah, I think that's good. Get some rim going here. Gonna get some of my brushes out of the way. Now, for rimming, I use a flat brush like this. This particular brush I only use for basing. Don't use it for anything else. Just like you should have a brush that you only use for painting eyes, you should have a brush that you only use for basing. At least if you try to do basing the way I do basing. Which is, now we're gonna get this on here. Let's flip this over like that. Let's get all of our models that we're gonna base on here. So, the way I like to do basing is, because miniatures should be handled by their bases once they're painted, I like to use Vallejo Black Service Primer, which is polyurethane primer. Make sure to shake it up real good. Always shake your stuff. I think that's going to be my sort of signature suggestion. Duncan Rhodes recommends you use the 2 thin coats. I recommend you shake your stuff. Shake your paints. Shake your paints. Always. Yeah. Gotta be very, very careful taking that off. Anyways, I will use this in a dry palette like this. A few drops will do. You can always add more if you need more. Using our flat brush. Boom. Now, if you put it on just a little thick, not too thick, just a little thick, you sort of brush downwards like that. 2 things will happen. One, you're gonna do this in 1 coat. Sorry, Duncan. 1 thick coat. I'm gonna do it in 1 coat, and also you're not gonna have brush strokes. You're just gonna have a nice, smooth base that's painted with a matte primer. So, you know, you'll have a consistent look, and a nice smooth base. Now, one thing I do recommend is put it on a paper towel or something like that after you're done. And look how great that bug looks. That's a great looking bug. If you got any texture paint on the base, that's okay. This primer is thick enough, it's going to average all that out. You'll probably still notice a little bit of the texture paint, but it's okay. Again, we're not winning awards here. These centipedes will see the light of day for 20 minutes in the next year. I go back in my storage cabinet. Of course, I think there were giant centipedes in Dragon of Icefire Peak. In the Icefire Peak Citadel in the crypts. I think I just sort of glossed over it when I used a proxy. Because at the time there weren't great models for it. Even STLs. I was like, whatever. This thing will die in like 2 seconds. This is like a level 5 party. Like, why is a level 5 party even fighting giant centipedes? There's some things in that book that are a little silly. Of course, that was also before I learned the importance of you don't have to follow the book exactly, and if something doesn't make sense, you want to change something up for your players, do it. Especially if you think it's going to be cooler, more engaging, add to the narrative, do it. You know, that makes me think I should probably do the nightmare that I one shot that I did with my primary group, with my secondary group. At Halloween time, they were staying at an inn, and I said to them, as you go to sleep, one thought enters your mind. What a terrible night for a curse. And in proper Castlevania fashion, I threw on the Castlevania music and whisked them away to the misty road in Ravenloft that leads to the Death House. And I did an upscaled version of the Death House for their Halloween enjoyment. I might do that again for my other group. Though my other group is really not that keen on moving quickly through content, so it might be a problem trying to get them to get through a one-shot in one night. But we'll see. I forgot I've got these stinking bugs that's gonna do their bases in a different way. Well, we'll do one of them in black. Might do is go get the we'll just use standard acrylic paint to do the other two bases. Use Vallejo. Oh, come on, tablet. What are you doing to me? Now you're probably wondering why I use the flat brush. Well, if it's not entirely obvious, it is, in my opinion, just way better for when you're trying to do something smooth like this and not get brush strokes. Way easier. Also, it allows me to sort of like get a nice square edge on the rim. I might have to break my one brush for basing rule when I get to the plasmoid, because there's so much overlap of the figure and the base. I might not be able to do it with this brush. We'll see when we get there. Plasmoid is up next after Shadakwa here. One thing you really want to be careful of is, you know, dipping your finger accidentally on part of the base you've already painted and then touching the model. That would be really catastrophically bad. So if you notice at the beginning, I will sort of spin in one direction and then the other and only change my finger positioning like once while trying to paint the model. I'll also brace my finger, as you can see here, on the underside of the base for stability. There we go. Alright, this monstrosity. This monstrosity is going to be a pain in my butt this campaign, I'm sure. This base is really messy due to the way I just slapped on the contrast paint, and there's a lot of paint that gathered at the bottom, at the base, like where the paint holder grabbed the model. Thankfully, with this primer, I'm putting it on extra thick, and I think it's gonna help like solve some of that problem. Yet another positive for why doing your bases with this is good. Oh, that looks really cool. She's all over the base. Mini is wild. Alright. Last but not least, these guys. We're going to do just one of them in black. One's done in black. Now we're going to do a gray and a white. Use our Vallejo game color here. That's the air paint. Let's see. There's our white. There's our gray. Oh. It's really hard to tell with these colors. Okay, we got Wolf Gray, Ghost Gray, Stonewall Gray. Looks like a brownish gray. Maybe this is what we want, Somber Gray. It's separated a lot. Cold gray. That's what we want. We want cold gray. Cold gray and dead white. Some of these game color paints I have never used, so they are very separated. But hey, that's what we have a vortex mixer for. These dropper bottles are kind of a pain to mix. You can mix them upside down really well, but not right side up. It's not like this vortex mixer. They just kind of want to like fly off. Alright, well that's good enough. Some cold gray. And some white. Start with gray, see how well this covers. Covering really well. This feels like sacrilege to me. I always rim my bases black. Again, there's a mechanical feature in Darkest Dungeon where if you have 3 of the same creature on the board, you need to sort of distinguish between them. And I could use counters, but that's just another thing that you have to worry about. And a lot of the people in the community have been doing this. I think it's a great trick. You just paint your rims 1 gray, 1 black, 1 white. And so if you have 3 of this monster out, the monster cards will have a gray symbol, a white symbol, and a black symbol on it. And so that way you know which instance of the monster card is associated with which model. Well, you know, it's not perfect. It's all right. Do need a little bit more paint. White is notorious for chunkiness. Also, this is not going to cover in one coat. It's pretty poopy. Of course, Duncan would tell us to do it in 2 thin coats anyways. Ugh. Look how chunky that is. Oh my god, gross. I think the issue is it started drying on my palette. That's white paint for you guys. I should have used Corax white. That would have been smarter. Gross. Ugh. Ugh, ugh, ugh. Makes me want to vomit. It's terrible. What are you doing, MiniPaintingDM? I'm being impatient. Alright. Happy with how the gray turned out. Not happy with this white. We're going to use a different white, folks. Corax white by Citadel. Corax white does like to separate. So of course we want to mix it up in a vortex mixer. Oh man, look how smooth this is going to be right out of the pot. It's also going to go on one smooth coat. It is not as bright white as Dead White by Vallejo, but what we lose in brightness, we gain in quality paint job. This is the first of the minis I've painted from Darkest Dungeons. This is the first time of experimenting how I wanted to paint the bases. As you can tell, it is going on rather thick. That's okay. The important thing that I want is I want it smooth. Trying to smooth out all of the nasty, crappy grittiness that was left behind by the shitty Vallejo white. Sorry, Vallejo. I mean, I love your paints, but that Dead White is just bad. Now, in retrospect, I could have used my Vallejo white primer. That would have been smart. But, yeah, mistakes were made. I think in the future I'll use... Actually, I'm fine with Corax white. We'll use the Corax white going forward. Along with this cold gray. Like the cold gray. Did a good job. And the black. And I think with that, we are done. We have many done painted models here. We've got our squad of giant ferrets. We have 4 giant centipedes. One thing I like doing while they're still not quite dry but a little tacky, I will sort of stamp it here on my hand. It's going to get any little excess that's sort of pooled underneath off, and also flatten the edge. So that way you don't have any like weird bumpiness at the bottom of the base. We're talking microscopic bumpiness, but you know, it takes a little bit of, doesn't take much effort to do this step. We have our Halfling Bard. A Plasmoid Barbarian. It's gonna be wild as hell. And our 3, whatever the hell I'm gonna run them as, grub things. Giant grubs. Alright, there we go. These were completely unpainted 2 days ago. We've gotten through 8, 9, 10, 13 models. Our Dragonborn is pretty much ready for basing. I'm going to continue to let this base dry some more. And before I put the Dragonborn on, we'll do a dark wash. Followed by a dry brush, and that will sort of complete the base before we glue him down on the base. He's going to sort of plant his feet like that. Right like that. That's going to be great. Oh, in frame. Come on. There we go. Yeah, just like that. Yeah. That's gonna be great. Love it. Alright, well, till next time. Thanks for those who joined. Not quite sure if I'm going to continue streaming here in the art channel. I don't know. I'll experiment, go back and forth, but it seems like the art channel is not nearly as productive for finding my audience than just going straight into the D&D channel. So, till next time, thanks for watching. I will be posting all my videos now on YouTube, and who knows, maybe next time I will be also streaming live on YouTube. But if you want to interact with me, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you want to interact with me, I pretty much only pay attention to the chat on Twitch. Interact with my audience on Twitch. So if you are on YouTube, I highly recommend you switch over to Twitch and catch me there. Thanks again, everyone, and until next time, may your 20s always be natural. Thanks.